Hello photographers! Today I'm going to show you how to use your flash to actually take a photo. And the first thing you need to know is how you want your photo to look. And for this example, what we want is a photo that looks like this. Now, knowing what you want your photo to look like is generally the easiest part of this process, because now we've got to figure out how to use this flash to make the photo look like this. Now remember, we're not just working with the flash, we're also dealing with the ambient light. And I highly recommend that when you're working with flash, the first thing you do is set your ambient light exposure before you even turn your flash on. In this case, we want to eliminate the ambient light from the photo entirely. That won't always be the case, but for this exercise, the goal is for the ambient light to have no impact on the photo. So to do that, we want to set our ISO, aperture, and shutter speed so that the exposure indicator reads something like -3. What this will do is give us a photo that's entirely black, completely underexposing the ambient light. Now, because we want the ambient light underexposed, I'm setting my ISO to the lowest setting, which on my camera is ISO 200. I'm going to set my aperture to f7.1 because I want decent depth of field in my photo, and because the somewhat smallish aperture will help underexpose the ambient light. And finally, I'm going to set my shutter speed, but you can't just use any old shutter speed. Every camera has what's called the sync speed, which is the fastest shutter speed that you can use while shooting with flash. This varies from camera to camera, but is usually around 1/200th of a second. On my camera, it's 1/250th of a second, and to find out your sync speed, just do a Google search for your camera model plus sync speed. So since I want the ambient light exposure to be completely underexposed, I'm going to set my shutter speed right up to my sync speed of 1/250th of a second. With my settings set, I'll take a test photo of the scene, and as you can see, it is almost completely black, which is exactly what we wanted. So now it's time to bring in the flash. I've already got it all set up, and I'm just going to turn everything on, including the trigger on my camera. And once we've got it turned on, the first thing we need to do is decide where to position the flash. So if we look at our reference photo, we can see that the light is coming from camera right. So what I'm going to do is position the light over here at camera right. Now I'm going to move our model / mannequin over here into the middle of the frame, and I'm also going to drop a backdrop down behind us. And I'm just going with a plain black backdrop because that's what the shot calls for. Now here's where things get experimental. In the beginning, you'll go through a lot of trial and error figuring out where to put the flash, what power level to use, and how to modify the light to get what you want. As you shoot and learn more, you will spend less time going through the trial and error, but it's always going to be a part of the process. So based on the reference photo, the light isn't super bright, so I'm going to guess, and I'm going to start with a flash power of 1/4 power. Full power would be as bright as the flash could be, and 1/4 power is 2 steps less than full power, so we're going to see how this looks. And I'm also going to elevate the flash because in the photo, the light is principally hitting the side of the model's face. So with that set, and with everything turned on, I'm going to take the first test photo. And in looking at this photo, we can see a number of problems. First of all, the flash is much too bright. Second of all, though, the light doesn't look anything like our reference photo. This light is very, very hard and very, very harsh. If you look at the photo, you can see that there's a line that goes right down the middle of the mannequin's face. That is a very hard edge shadow. And what this means is we need to change the light. We need to modify and soften the light up a little bit, and that's where our umbrella comes in. Now I mentioned that the light is also too bright, but I'm not going to change the power level of the light because when I put the umbrella on, the umbrella is going to diminish the power of the light because the umbrella is going to block some of the light that passes through it to hit the subject. So I have my umbrella right here, and I'm just going to move the light back a little bit so that I can put it in here, as I demonstrated in the gear video where you set up your equipment. And with the umbrella secured, I'm going to position it again in the same spot and take another test photo. And this is the process. You just work one change at a time until things look the way you want it to look. And looking at this photo, we already can see a dramatic improvement. The light is much softer. I still think it's too bright compared to what we actually want. So what I would say is we need to turn down the power. And based on what it looks like, I would say we need to turn it down at least 1 stop, possibly 2. So I'm going to go ahead and try 2 stops to see what happens. That will take us from 1/4 power down to 1/16 power. And after making that change, I'll just take another test shot. And again, this is all there is to it. It is making a modification and then testing it and then making another modification until you get to where you want to be. So looking at this photo, this is much, much closer to what we were looking at in the beginning. The only thing I would say is that based on this, the lighting is not quite hitting the model where we want. See, the light is pointing mostly right at the side of the mannequin's face. But in the reference shot, the light's coming from a little bit more of an angle and spilling over onto this side of the face as well, which means we just need to move this light a little bit to change how it's hitting the subject. So if we just move it up a little bit and angle it off to the side a little bit, now the light is going to hit this side of the face, but it's also going to come over and hit this side of the face as well. And when we take this test shot, we'll see that reflected in the photo. And there it is right there. We've got nice, beautiful, soft light across the face. We've got some shadowing over on this side of the subject, which is where we want it. But overall, we've got a nice, beautiful, simple portrait headshot. And that, again, is how you create a flash photo. You work one light at a time, starting by dealing with your ambient light, and then working with your flash until you get what you want out of it. Now, if you're working with multiple flashes, you get one light set and then you bring in a second light. But for today, we're just dealing with one flash. Now, if you have any questions about this, about flash photography, or anything else, let me know down in the comments. And if you want to learn more about flash photography, check out my Understanding Flash Photography video course. It covers what we just did today in much more depth, along with everything you need to know to get up and running and taking amazing photos with your flash. And you can learn about the course by clicking this link right here or visiting selfhelpphotographer.com/understandingflash. Now do me a favor, would you like this video and subscribe to my channel? If you really like this video, please share it with your friends. But the most important thing you need to do is get out there and take some damn photos. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Now here's where mother